Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel, and we're here again at Autoshack for another episode, and this week we've got something very special and very rare. We've got this Caterham Levante V6 Supercharge. So this is something very, very special. It's almost an engineering experiment. These are two Yamaha triples with a billet bottom end into a V6, making it a 2.2 V6, and if that wasn't enough, also got a Rotex supercharger in the middle of the V. Even more amazingly, these put out about 600 horsepower and weigh about 600 kilos, which is crazy. Get your calculators out for that bhp per ton. This is like a Formula 1 car, just without the aero or the grip or the tyres. It is madness. We've got it in with us because it's got a bit of an oil leak coming from around the clutch area, which is getting onto the clutch and making it slip. But as a lot of you know, I am building a kit car myself, so looking around this, if money was no object, there's so many great ideas here. It's the SV wide body chassis to be able to fit everything in, and even then there's some really cool things they had to work around with the steering shaft, the exhaust, all the coolant system. As they were going along building it, it kind of seems they thought, oh, we need to put the alternator somewhere, let's put it here. We need to put the starter motor somewhere, let's put it here. So let's have a closer little look around this car. So like I said, these are two Yamaha triples put together in a V with a completely custom bottom end, and it's got a Rotex supercharger in the middle. The customer has already started taking this apart. We have had this in before for a few little jobs, and it is usually a lot fuller than this. It has a huge intercooler and radiator set up at the front. I can see down here it's got a massive electronic water pump. This Caterham's got inboard suspension instead of the usual outboard suspension. And just to fit it in, the steering shaft comes along here. It's actually got a little magic box, which then puts it down to the steering rack, which is flipped upwards. All things like this are so, so cool. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a place. Lots of billet covers. Everything is custom. It's got the fuel rails along the top, and there is sensors for absolutely everything. We've got fuel pressure sensors here. We've got oil pressure. Everything is on, aeromotive spec, everything. These go into bulkhead fittings on here. Everything is braided, fittings on absolutely everything. I reckon even the braided lines on this cost more than my whole car. And with the lightweight, carbon fibre everywhere, the real deal. And you'll see no gear stick, because it's just on air operated paddles. It's got the compressor up here for the gearbox shifters, full carbon seats. And I was a bit worried about my roll cage, not having a full cage, just having a rear cage. But if it's good enough for this thing, I think I'll be safe enough. Just don't crash. This is absolutely crazy. Being the V6, it normally has exhaust out both sides. It's got some chunky tyres, but for the horsepower, I think I'd like something a little bit bigger. These are 245s on the back, which in Caterham terms are massive. There's lots of electronics inside with the traction control, lots of settings, and you might recognise this dash. I've got the same one in my kit car, except for mine doesn't rev to 12 grand or have 200 miles per hour on the speedo. They didn't even have room for the oil coolers. They're actually on these outward ducts. I've got the supercharger cooler this side, and the engine oil cooler this side, on big scoops hanging out the side, just because it was so full on the inside. It's got massive high-spec brakes on the front, but with this not weighing a lot, I don't think they'll be under much strain. But still, the speeds this thing can get up to. It's got wheel speed sensors on each wheel, so all the computers inside know exactly what it's up to. So let's get this thing on the ramp. Well, I don't think there's many other 600 horsepower cars you can push along with one hand. And underneath things are just as crazy. It's like got these weird billet, it's like 2 water pumps, one for each side underneath matching. It's all dry sumped under here. So it's a completely custom bottom end. There's the Yamaha triple that side and that side, then they're linked together. There's the alternator hiding at the back. It just looks crazy under here. There's the sequential gearbox. And the carbon fibre prop. Fully carbon fibre everywhere. Has got a little bit of aero on the back, trying to make a difference. We've got to find this oil leak coming from somewhere around the bell housing area. It's even got a Yamaha oil filter. So we need to start getting some bits off to try and squeeze this out. Because the front cross member looks to be welded in, so it's got to go out the top. Gearbox mount and bolts, which is good, so we can slide that out. So a bit more investigation needed. Even just looking at the steering shaft, so funny. See it all moving through the 90-degree box there. Just like an old tractor. So we've got to investigate a bit more on how much we need to take off just to get the engine out. I'd rather not disassemble it any more than I need to. There's the alternator again, down at the back. Just runs off a little pulley down beside the bell housing. Certainly unlike anything I've seen before. So let's start stripping it down. I'm going to take a million pictures so we know where it goes back together. See if we can get this out. I think we're just about ready to come off. The customer had pretty much disconnected everything around the engine, all the oil pipes, water pipes. Obviously the radiators weren't on there. Just getting the last few bits. I think we are ready. Disconnected the prop underneath, drained all the oil. Everything's folded in that needs to be folded in. So now we just need to try and slide it out. I've got a bit of room at the front, so hopefully I can slide it forward enough to hook it out. So there's not a lot of room down that tunnel. So let's give it a go. We're starting to come out, but I just couldn't quite get to the air lines, and then I found out this panel here is removable. So for the air shifter, they were disconnected. So now we should be ready to lift it out. And it's out. And now we can see how compact this engine unit is. It's got a really wide V. And it's got those billet covers at the front for those water pumps each side. And it is a real piece of engineering. Then you've got the belt for the supercharger on the front. There's the supercharger in the middle of the V. Then you've got the sequential gearbox. And that's where a shifter normally would be, and it's just got the air shifter there, pushing forwards and backwards on the linkage. So it's quite a piece of art. So now if we drop the gearbox off, it's a tiny bell housing. I mean, that's the size of my hand. Not like the Mustang one we did earlier, which was the size of a football pitch. Everything on this is just tiny. You can see the belt drive for the alternator as well. Crazy. So let's get this gearbox off and see where our problem lies. And we are separated. And as suspected, the bell housing is full of oil. So we've got to figure out where it's coming from. Whether it's coming out of the rear main or dripping in there, or it could be gearbox oil. Could even be clutch fluid leaking from the slave cylinder. But it's just, I can't get over how tiny everything is. You've got the clutch pack here, you can pick up in your hand. The alternator is as big as a bit of masking tape, even in the bell housing there. That's a nearly used up masking tape. I reckon a full one would nearly fill that. So we've got to give it a bit of a taste test to see where it is leaking from. Might have to take the clutch off, just have a look in there, see if the clutch is worn out. See where this oil is coming from. And that's the clutch and flywheel all off. You can see it's a little bit oily behind there, but there's been a lot of heat in this clutch. Not surprisingly with the power. This flywheel weighs next to nothing. There's hardly anything of it, all billet, but these clutch packs are cooked. You can see how scorched it is there, and on the flywheel too. And if you look closely at the friction pads, you've got some cracks. So we're gonna have to get these replaced or rebuilt. This isn't gonna go in. We've also found in the gearbox, we've got a bit of play in the input shaft. So that there's the bearings gone, we think, which might be where the oil's coming from. So let's get investigating. And another little comparison, here's a standard VW gearbox, like out of a Golf, and you can see the bell housing size difference. This is tiny. We've just had a delivery dropped off. It is our gearbox back. So it's just had a full rebuild and a check over, sorted out some bearings and some leaks. So now we can put it back together. And a nice box from SBD is our rebuilt clutch and flywheel. Here's the old flywheel. It's pretty cooked. And also the teeth on the ring gear was all knackered. As there was nothing off the shelf, we'd have a custom one made exactly the same. I've given all this area an inspection and a clean up now, and I can't find anywhere where it's leaking from. So we're going to get this new clutch on and get everything reassembled. That's the flywheel all on and torqued and signed. Now it's onto this fancy clutch. So we've got to clean it all up and get it put together. Clutch all on, all torqued up, even super on still visible, so it should all be aligned. Let's get the new gearbox on and get it back in. And all back in. I'm a one-man Caterham technician. It's super tight everywhere on this. Had to go in at nearly a 90-degree angle to swoop in past all the tunnel and everything. But now bolted everything back on that I took off just as it came in. Got all the dash back in. Got all the diffuser on the back. Got all the carbon fibre back on. So I think everything is done up to how it came in. Got all the steering shafts back on. That all works again. So I think that is all done. I've checked my pictures and everything is sitting just as it was. So we're all good. And we are back down on the floor, and now we're at exactly the same stage as when it came to us. I've plugged back in and bolted everything that I've taken off. So this is now at the stage where the owner left it with us. I've checked all my photos and I've placed everything in exactly the same place as when it came in. So hopefully it'll be easy enough now for him to carry on and put all the final bits back on to finish this up. It's been so cool looking at this. Money was no option. What is possible? All the push rod suspension, all the carbon everywhere, all the little brackets, all the little weight saving bits. This is a super duper cool car. So it's going to go now back to the customer at this stage of the assembly. So it's not up and running, so unfortunately I can't take this one out for a test drive. But as crazy as this is, that's probably for the best. So that's going to wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed having a little insight into this car, which is almost like a science experiment just to see what was possible. So make sure you give this video a like. Be sure to tune in next time, because who knows what we've got next at Autoshack. But as always, the next episode is going to be something special, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. So until next time, make sure you have fun.